Greetings, friends. Wow, do I have a great podcast for you today. Ryan Bledsoe has returned to the DTFH. And if you're somebody who has interest in UAPs, the paranormal, and orbs, and if you're like me and you've always wanted to see these things, this is the episode for you. Because it turns out you might not need to be flying around in a fighter jet with some kind of top secret radar system to see whatever these things are. In fact, you might just need to look up and have the guts to say, hello? Seriously, it sounds crazy, but Ryan just had a skywatching event here in Austin, and yeah, apparently there's a way to manifest orbs, and we go over that in today's episode of the DTFH. Ryan is the host of a wonderful podcast, Bledsoe Said So. Of course, he's on all the socials, Instagram, Twitter, OnlyFans. I subscribe. But now, listen to him here. Everybody, welcome back to the DTFH, Ryan Bledsoe. Ryan, welcome back to the DTFH. It is so good to see you, and I am gutted because I fucked up my schedule and was not able to attend I don't know, what would you call it? The orb party that you had at Christina's house?
Yeah, I just say Skywatch.
A Skywatch. And so you and some comics got together in Austin, and I know your dad doesn't like this term, you manifested orbs. Your dad doesn't like the term summon.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. First of all, thanks for having me back. This is like the greatest freaking podcast in the world.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I was gutted you couldn't be there too, because we've known each other for I don't know how many years now, and I was like excited to meet in person, but it'll have to be next time. So it was dope. So I don't even know where to begin. I'll just back up. A few months ago, my dad in our videos and our story and all that was brought up on Rogan. And I get this feeling in my gut when these kinds of things happen, like, I can't sit around. I have to do something.
Let me stop you. Why don't you tell, for folks who might not be so familiar with you, people always join this podcast who haven't been listening. Talk a little bit about your dad and what he's most known for in the world.
Okay, now I don't have the episode number, but about 2 or 3 years ago, I did come on this show and gave the full lowdown.
Yeah,
so I
go to that.
I want to plug the new people to your previous episode.
We'll put the link down below, guys, if you want some backup. But yeah, just to summarize.
But we'll do a basic. Yeah, we'll do a basic. But I'm trying to get people to go through your catalog.
Thank you.
But long story short, in 2007, my father and my brother, they were just finishing a carpentry job outside of town with 3 other contractors. My dad downsized from this major, like multi-million-dollar, enormous house building and real estate empire, fell on hard times, lost it all. We went dirt poor, and he had this small crew of like 3 men and my brother, who was only 17. They finished the job. My dad was just at the end of his rope. He was not enjoying really fishing. I'm very quickly paraphrasing the story.
Yeah.
And he's just praying to God. He's like, I can't go with this suffering anymore. I can't feed my kids. He had Crohn's disease, which was debilitating. So he was just like, either take my life or, turn it around. I can't go on like this. And he saw these 2 big balls of fire on the horizon that were bigger than the sun. It looked like 2 suns. And he's like, that's not right. That shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And he knew it was something very weird. And he turns to run, but then when he looks back, a 3rd one shoots up beside them. And then the next thing he knows, he's back at the campfire where all the guys were fishing, about half a mile into the woods. And when he returns, they're like kind of yelling at him, where have you been? We've been looking for you for hours. It turns out it took him about a year or so with an investigation, all these different people piecing their story together. He was very confused by this, but he finally came to understand that he was missing for 4 hours when he saw those 3 balls of fire. During that time, my brother was in the woods and he saw these two tiny 3 to 4 foot tall entities with these round red eyes and triangles on their chest, and they glowed like the color of the moon. And it freaked him out, and he was like kind of frozen in place. One of them was constantly making eye contact with him. The other one was walking around, picking up bottles, cans, sticks, whatever. And then by the time my dad comes back and he's shouting, Junior, Junior, where are you? His name is Chris Jr. He's like, Junior. It's like he was let go of this hold, whatever was over him. And those beings dove into a pile of sticks and just vanished. They disappeared.
They dove into sticks?
Yeah, like a pile of sticks. A big pile. Like imagine people have been cutting down trees and there's a massive pile of wood and
was the one making eye contact with him, does he think that's the reason he couldn't move? Was it like holding him in place? Was it sending him any messages while it was doing that, or it was just freezing him?
Yeah, and he doesn't know if it was freezing him or if he was just
Freaked
traumatized and fear. Yeah, he doesn't know. Our take is that it probably was holding him in place. And I mean, why not? We'll go fringe. These are kinds of things.
Yeah, this isn't fringe at all. I thought maybe you'd go a little weirder instead of all this normal stuff about creatures in the woods freezing you in place, then vanishing into a pile of sticks.
I think the thing that people have a hard time wrapping their heads around, which is what I don't usually lead with, is that these beings telepathically communicate. And I want to get into that later. But so they gave my dad messages while he was gone for 4 hours. And one of those messages was, he's like, where's my son? Where's my son? They're like, don't worry, we're keeping him safe. You know, he was traumatized for life. But
yeah.
So they were holding him there. And, you know, he didn't receive any sort of communication or anything, but my dad did for hours. And we can go into that too. So moving on, he's let go from the hold of these little beings. And the other guys are like, you know, this isn't funny, or, you know, thinking they're playing a prank. My dad's saying, I saw these UFOs. My brother's saying, I saw this little alien creature. There's all this shouting and commotion going on. And then one of the guys shouts, look. And they look straight up, and there's these 8 to 9 really big white balls of light that they mistook for stars. And they start scrambling around in all these weird patterns. And then one of them shoots down to the other side of the Cape Fear River. So they're like, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
So they all get in the truck and they start driving out of the forest. And when they get out of the woods, which is a half-mile narrow dirt and mud road, one of these big white balls of light, but it was egg-shaped with, I'm going to say spikes, but they weren't physical. It was light.
Yeah.
Imagine like tendrils of light, like flowing all over this thing. It was blocking their path, hovering a couple feet off the ground in the road, and they slammed to a stop. It slowly just kind of drifts up, hovers over their truck, right over the sunroof, and then floats up away. One of the guys that was riding with my dad recognized the trailer to the right, because they were in a trailer park out in the country of North Carolina right then. They recognized this trailer and they knew the people, and the lights were on and the main door was open and the storm door was the only thing that was shut. You know those glass doors that you can see through, but still a door?
Yeah.
So they go up and they're banging on the door. Hey, hey, hey. And one of the guys looks in and can see that the couple that he knew was just staring at the TV completely like, you know, nothing under there.
Yeah.
They're not reacting to the screaming. It's like they were hypnotized.
Yeah. Weird.
And then they get in the truck, they drive off, and they get about a mile down the road, and my dad slams to a stop in the road again, because right over the spot where his wife died in his arms in 1983 at like 21 years old.
Good God.
In a car wreck. She was mangled and she died in his arms. One of them was hovering right over the spot where her body was out of the car.
Fuck.
And dad had this like flash in his mind of her being okay. And it was like all this guilt was released, all this stuff. They all get home. They're thinking it's the end of the world. The guys are fighting who gets to see their wives and kids last. And, you know, dad and my brother get home and they're shutting all the blinds, turning on all the lights, grabbing all the guns. And they're like, what's going on? Where's the military? We live in Fayetteville, which is near Fort Bragg, biggest military base in the world.
So they're assuming this is happening everywhere. You know,
Yeah.
Of course you would. Like, you would think everyone's seeing these lights, that this is like
End of the world.
end times shit, an invasion. And so go ahead. That is wild.
Yeah. So they turn on the news trying to see, a message from the Pentagon, the White House, like what's happening, what's happening. And, again, I said we live out in the country of North Carolina. So my grandfather was our next door neighbor, and they have this big dog kennel with like 15 to 20 hounds in it for hunting, bear and deer and all that stuff, raccoons, whatever. And they start going berserk. They're just, howling and barking. And my dad's like, oh no, someone's, trying to break into your grandfather's house. I need to go check it out. And Junior's like, no, don't go over there. Don't go over there. He's freaking out. Yeah, don't go, right? So my dad goes anyway. My brother goes with him because he doesn't want to be in the house alone. And when he gets back to the forest in our property, he has our dog, which is a Chesapeake Bay Retriever. They have these natural hunting instincts, right? Like, labs and all that stuff. He taps her on the butt with his foot. He's like, go get him, Rosie. And she runs through the bushes to find whatever was back there that they could hear scrambling around. My dad and my brother run around the bushes to try to cut it off and meet the dog on the other side. My brother takes off home. He was so scared at that moment, and my dad's running alone. And then when he gets to the end of our property, big 6-acre property, we had a lot of forest and stuff in our yard. He gets to the mouth of the forest, and there's one of those beings that my brother saw, the little ones. It's standing there, and my dad's like, okay, you got me. I give up. I surrender. And it tells him telepathically, you don't understand. We're not here to hurt you. We're here to help you. Oh. And then at that point, the dog appears and it just vanishes. And then the next night or the night after, he saw them one more time. But this time he sees a light in the backyard, and he grabs his rifle that he hunts bear with. And in his head, he's like, I'm going to end this once and for all so my 17-year-old son isn't in fear. So he goes out there to our bushes, the bushes at the mouth of the forest. He crawls under them because it's a very tight space, and he gets deep into the woods. And then
he was going out there to blast one of these little guys?
Oh, yeah, he was going to kill it.
Holy shit, man.
My dad was...
Even though it said to him, listen, we're not here to hurt you. He's like, I don't... Why would I trust you? You fucks.
Well, that's kind of speaks to my dad's character and how he changed after this, because he was a man who was hard as fuck. And he was the kind of guy where when he was like 6 years old, my grandfather would drop him in the forest at, 4 a.m. with no flashlight and say, come home after you've killed a deer, in pitch black darkness.
This is a good dad. By the way, that is good dad behavior. I'm sorry, but if I've got little guys on my property freezing one of my kids, doing some shit to me, yeah, I'm gonna blast one. It's like, you know what I mean? No, see, because here's the thing, and I don't mean to derail the story, which is incredible. Just
please.
Side note. Make that a person, right? There's a person on your property. Some dude with a beard, with a weird outfit on, V on his shirt, telepathically communicates, I'm here to help you. Fuck off. These little guys get a pass, don't they? You know what I mean? Like, they get a pass. No. Number one, communicate normally. If you want to hang out and you can't you come to my door? Why don't you do it in the day? Give me a call. Hey, we're little guys. We want to help you. You know what I mean? The whole thing. It's my basic point.
Use words.
Use words. When you're on my planet, you'll speak with your fucking mouth. Go ahead. Sorry.
It's true. No, but that's hilarious. And he goes up with his rifle and he's like, I'm going to finish this.
Hold on. You're fading out. I lost you.
Uh-oh.
There, you're back. I don't know what just happened. It's because because of what I said. I'm sorry, little guys.
Yeah, you're in trouble now. So he goes out there and he comes face to face with it, and immediately he's hit with this understanding, like kind of like a telepathic wave of knowledge. It's like, imagine a computer file and you unzip it and it's just like boom, and there's like gigabytes and gigabytes, like all this information just unfolded in his mind, and he actually dropped his gun. And they conveyed to him the sense of like empathy, the suffering of life, the aspects of consciousness, like, you know, grass, the wind, the leaves, everything has consciousness. Everything is alive and it has intelligence, not to kill, not to harm, but to love and to treat life as sacred. It completely changed him. He never killed a bug again. He never hunted again. Never. He won't even kill snakes. He'll scoop them up in a bucket and drop them off a few miles away. Completely changed him.
So,
and
okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, that's essentially the ending of the first event.
Well, let me fill some. I'm sure you might be aware of this, maybe not. And Josh, I don't know if we can pull stuff up or not, but so up in North Carolina, well, obviously you're aware of the horrific floods that happened up there, like just Chimney Rock washed away, once in 100-year floods. Now, were you aware of the sightings that people started having of little beings out there? Did you hear about this?
No.
Yeah, can you pull up, like, I think they're calling them goblins, but can you pull up North Carolina goblin flood or something? But so, you know where the term Tommyknockers comes from?
No.
So the term Tommyknockers was a term that came from coal miners, and they said many of them would see these little things, little like creatures down there in the mines, and they claimed that these creatures would knock on the walls of the. You would hear this, and sometimes that knocking would happen right before an explosion, like they were trying to warn them, get the fuck out of the mine. And so, after these floods, there have been these sightings from people living in rural North Carolina, seeing these little beings out there that, seem to have also been fucked up by the floods. Like the floods, whatever subterranean colonies they had down there or whatever got flooded out, and they're also kind of fucked up by them. But there's been this uptick in seeing these things. Can you find that, Josh?
I got it. I don't have my computer connected, but I'll put it on there when you're talking about it.
Okay, yeah, great. Just read it real quick, Josh. What does it say? This is Josh, my producer.
Hey, Josh, your producer.
9 first-hand accounts of UFOs in North Carolina.
Not UFOs. Did you find the goblin thing? Floods, goblins. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll find it later and pull it up.
Yeah.
The point is, you've got especially something about the fact that they like went into sticks, right? This doesn't speak to me of an off-world being, but something that is familiar with the terrain, knows how to hide. And you know what I'm saying? It's like maybe these aren't necessarily, just because there's orbs around them, maybe they're not necessarily extraterrestrial. Maybe they're more Earth related. And the message they were conveying to your dad, it is like it would be the message. It's the same thing that you hear from indigenous people. You know what I mean? It's the same thing that you hear from anyone who hasn't lost their connection with the earth. It's like, everything's alive. I had a shaman on the podcast, and he said that the trees thought it was funny that humans placed themselves over monkeys, but monkeys knew that the trees also had personalities and spirit within them, and humans didn't. And they thought that was like really funny, because humans think we're so advanced, but we're ignorant when it comes to the basic fundamental way things work.
Right. Well, they said that they come from the spirit world. They called it the eternal world. And they said that this is the perilous world where we come to grow. It's a journey of the soul, and we come here to grow, and then when we die, we go back to the eternal world in an orb of light, and we become as they are, and we're free to go wherever we want to go. And the thing is, and then there's a couple more points, and I've got nothing but time. I'm chilling, but there's a couple more points I want to hit on this stuff, and then we can move on to some more modern stuff, what's happening now. But this is a dimensional thing. This is like, In the ancient mystery schools, they concealed this one great truth that we come from another world.
Right.
We're not hybrids in the sense that we come from Mars or we come from Jupiter or whatever, but human beings, we're hybrids in the sense that we come from the implicate order. We come from the spiritual dimensions first. Our higher self conceives our little avatar here, writes the whole script of your life, and then boom, you're born here and everything goes exactly according to plan, dictated by your own part of your highest dimensional consciousness that sits with God, basically. Which,
correct me if I'm wrong here. It isn't even coming here implies a separation from God, where it's more like we come here in the way that a rose grows on a bush. You know what I mean? The rose hasn't traveled anywhere. It's just sort of a a part of the. Everyone notices the rose. Nobody notices the bush. To quote
and
Willie
the
Nelson.
thorns.
Yeah, but that's what we are, right? Like we're still there. We're in this place right now, kind of dreaming this up, for lack of a better word. We're there right now. You and me, we're there. But we're the experience we're having. We're blind to that. Most people are blind to that place.
Yeah. And I think that's the great mystery. So as of the last 80 years, there's been this narrative, this psychological operation perpetrated on humanity to think of otherworldly beings as everything but angelic or divine or mystical or spiritual. It's been, aliens. It's been all this,
elves.
They come from Mars. Well,
I'm sorry. Yes, I see what you're saying. Well, right now we're saying comes from Mars. It used to be these are elves, these are fairies, these are gnomes, these are elementals. These, you know what I mean? Because our understanding of the universe was not where it's at right now. So these exact phenomena, angels.
Yes. You've got it.
Yeah. The star of Bethlehem, an orb that appeared at this place. Maybe even the orb was the divine light coming in, or so, who knows? But
you got it.
But if that exact same thing happened over Bethlehem today, people will be like, "Holy shit! It's one of those New Jersey drones." That's just where we're at right now. This episode of the DTFH is brought to you by Storyworth. My dad used to tell me a story about a pet crow he had. My dad had a pet crow. I don't know how he captured the crow. I don't know if the crow just started living with him when he was a kid, but he had a crow. He really loved animals. And he said, the crow was trained to do stuff. He really loved that crow. And then I think one of his dogs ate the crow. The problem is I don't remember too much of the story other than my dad had a pet crow. My dad, he's with the ancestors now. He died. But so without a Ouija board, I can't say what was the name of that crow, but I remember it was really funny. So forever, the name of my dad's pet crow has been eliminated from the history books. I'll never know the name of my dad's pet crow, and that poor pet crow devoured by my dad's dog will be nameless evermore. This is why I recommend Storyworth memoirs for your loved ones this holiday season. It might sound a little intimidating, but it's easy. They'll love it. It's a gift they won't see coming, something that makes them feel truly special, and it turns out it's a gift for you too. Because if I had done Storyworth with my dad, I could just go in there and figure out what the crow's name was. Probably even more descriptions of it and what happened the day his dog ate the crow. It will be memorialized forever. Each week, Storyworth emails a loved one a memory-provoking question that you get to choose. Questions like, what were your favorite toys as a child? Or what are you most proud of? All your loved ones needs to do is respond to that email with a story. They can either write a story over email or record it over the phone for Storyworth to transcribe. It's so easy with no apps or passwords required. It's perfect for even your least tech-savvy relatives, aka all of our relatives. After a year, Storyworth compiles your loved one's stories and photos into a beautiful keepsake hardcover book. Photos are printed in vibrant color. It's a treasure your loved ones and you will be able to share and revisit for generations. This year, they added a bunch of new features to make storytelling even easier, with personalized questions and magic editor. Meanwhile, their magic layout and new book designs make finished books and especially photos look even more beautiful. Plus, they've just rolled out Spanish language support. Gracias. Give your loved ones a unique keepsake you'll all cherish for years. Storyworth Memoirs. Right now, save $10 or more during their holiday sale when you go to storyworth.com/Duncan. That's storyworth.com/Duncan to save $10 or more on your order. Thank you, Storyworth.
Yeah, you got it. In all of the conversations I've had with like highest level military and intelligence insiders, they know. I could show you, emails with people in very high places who are seeing these orbs.
Hold on, you're fading in and out for some reason. Hold on, give it a second. Also, I think it's worth quickly noting that that's of the many fascinating things about your dad. One of them is you and your dad. Your dad, for the intelligence community, became interested in him all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And so all of these like high-ranking officials started showing up at your house. Like, it wasn't like he was just telling people about this. Somehow it got all the way to the top, and people became very interested in your dad.
It's because it's real. It's because it's real. So the Department of Defense has invested great resources in studying and investigating our family. And that's naturally, you read my fucking mind so beautifully, because that's where I wanted to go next, was how they got interested, right? So we covered the beginning of the story with the first couple nights, and long story short, it never went away. The experiences continued. Me and my other two siblings and my mother even would be seeing orbs, little beings running through the house, all that stuff, like right away. And in fact,
you saw one of these things?
I've seen tens of thousands of these
Describe
things.
them to me.
Okay. The orbs are not ships. They are not anything other than your physical body viewing dimensional phenomenon that doesn't make sense to a neurochemical brain. It is an entity of higher consciousness, higher vibration, whatever new age hippie shit you want to say to understand it, that they come into our world and they slow their frequency energy state down just enough for your little eyes to paint a picture. These orbs are beings. They are intelligences. They don't need machines. We see them as orbs as they are traveling through dimensions. Many, many times we see beings project from these orbs with hands, feet, heads, whatever, eyes. And they speak telepathically. They have messages.
And you've seen these beings?
Yes.
In your house?
Yes. And in my yard. I've seen multiple in the house, yeah.
So wait. Just let's pause here because I needed some descriptions. Can you just describe your first encounter with one of these beings?
Okay, well, when you say first encounter with one of these beings, with my understanding of this 19 years in, every time you see an orb, that's a being. But I'm assuming you mean visually something with arms
when they're deciding to sort of manifest in as a hominid.
Yes. I got you. So I was about 21.
I don't know if hominid's the right word, but it kind of makes you sound smart when you say hominid.
Yeah, it does.
As a little guy.
I got a very studious vibe from that.
Thank you.
So I was about 22. When I saw it in that form, right? and I was on like summer break from college. I guess I would have been more like 21. And my buddy and I were in the room and we were staying up really late, just talking about all kinds of stuff. Pro tip that these things tend to appear the most when you're talking about them and other things related to this. But you could, there's no one way, right? But anyway, so we're staying up till like 2 or 3 in the morning talking about this stuff, and something touched me. Like I felt like a warm static feeling. It wasn't painful, but it was definitely like a electrical heat sensation. It touched me on my rib cage, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And I lifted my shirt, and there was a red mark on my ribs, like a little hand touched me. And my friend who was in the room with me, his eyes got wide as saucers. He's like, whoa, he saw the print on my hand. He grew up in a haunted house. He totally got the vibe. He knew this stuff was real. And then we looked in the corner and there was a being standing there. So something invisible touched me. And then we looked over and this entity was standing by my closet door, and its head was as high as the doorknob. And it had perfectly, round head, big round eyes. It was translucent like glass. So there was no like color or specific detail other than the shape, the head, the arms, the legs, the torso. And then it just vanished. And my friend was like, "You saw that too, right?" I was like, "Yeah, I saw that. You saw that?" And we were like freaking out. And there's been many other times. Like, for example, actually, when I first met you, I told you the story a long time ago. But I had watched this satanic horror movie with Johnny Depp in it. It's called like The Ninth Gate or something.
Yeah, The Ninth Gate.
It was all right. But in the movie, there's this part where there's this text that was like, written by Satan. And I was like, whoa, that's an interesting concept. Naturally, I'm not into that stuff. I have a religion minor, and I'm just really fascinated into like studying all these different texts.
Sure.
So I'm like, I just want to see the validity of this because it named a real text in the movie, right? So I Googled the text because I was like nerding out about the movie. I was like, well, this is interesting. And when I went to open the text, a shiny little glowing white being ran across my kitchen in my apartment. And I said, okay, I'm good. And I closed the text. I was like, I don't need to know.
Yeah.
I don't need to open this stuff.
Well, I've had that. Yeah. Don't fuck with grimoires. It's a kid's game, because that's the problem with these fucking things, especially movies like The Ninth Gate, which I agree, it's kind of like mid.
It's all right.
But Evil Dead, any of these movies, though none of them are suggesting you should crack open a cursed book and summon spirits. If you're a kid and you watch that, you become interested. You're like, is that real? Yeah. And then, because you're born in the West, and in the West, your blinders are put on you, depending on what family. Generally, these blinders get put on you, where all the stuff people have been openly talking about and connecting to in the same way we connect to electricity or any other thing, we don't see it. And so we also have this like ignorance mixed in with it. And the next thing you know, you've obtained, if you're particularly unlucky, an actual grimoire, not some bullshit like the Necronomicon they used to sell at Walden Books, which is just really some Sumerian jibber jabber. You get the Black Pullet, the Lesser Keys of Solomon, or something like that. Who knows? There's a lot of them out there. And then you ignore the warning that is generally at the beginning of any grimoire, which is don't fuck with this. You'll fuck yourself up. You're like, whatever, flip through that. Let's get to the part where I get my dick sucked, where I can summon something that sucks my dick. And then you start intoning these things. You do it. It's just like playing with fucking gunpowder, right? Yeah. And then something happens. You aren't ready for it. No one prepared you. You weren't raised to understand there's extra dimensional beings. The universe is populated with all kinds of consciousness. Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. Some of them are chaotic. Some of them are annoyed that you're fucking with them. And then the next thing you know, one of them, many things can happen. Many things can go wrong. And I've had a similar experience where I was fucking with one of those books, and I didn't see a being, but God, it's so creepy. It still creeps me out, dude. In fact, a being might have been less creepy.
Yeah.
I'm just, after I'd been, I don't know, intoning some fucking shit in this book, I hear this. Toop. I look behind me. You know when a coin falls on the ground, we all know that sound.
Yeah.
Like a fucking coin had fallen out of nowhere and just landed on my on the carpet of my shitty apartment. And dude, I was the same. I gave the book. I'm like, fuck this. I mean, first of all, it was like a penny. Wasn't even a valuable coin. But
yeah,
I suppose if it had been like a silver
wasted
dollar.
opportunity.
But the point is, I didn't like it either. That's something you and me have in common. We're interested, but then also there's a sense of like, man, I don't know if I quite belong there. That seems like a no-go zone.
That's called in a port when something just pops into material reality like that. And I don't know, this is just my speculation with, how interacting with the spirit world for so long. It could have been something exactly like what happened to me, trying to stop you. Like, nope. Don't look at this stuff. But,
or it could have just been like throwing, throwing bread to a bird. You know what I mean? It could have just been like that. You know what I mean? It could have just been like, that monkey why is he making sounds that bring him into our attention? Throw him, they like little round bits of metal. Throw him a little round bit of metal. See if he likes it.
It's shiny.
Yeah, they like shiny circles of shit metal.
Well, there is a concept called pennies from heaven, right?
Yeah, I've heard that.
But this happened to my dad one time. He wasn't like looking at any weird text. And like full disclosure, I'm not into that stuff from a practice standpoint. I was just nerding out about the movie. I was like, I got to see if that text is real. I had no clue that there was even such a thing as like cursed texts or whatever. I just wanted to give that disclosure that I don't mess with weird shit like that.
All right. Okay, guy with a goddess on the wall, and look at your wall. Can you show people what's behind you? Yeah, you don't mess with weird stuff.
No. I don't mess with dark stuff.
Okay, right. But okay, you did. My friend had an extraordinary experience hanging out with you, which we'll get into later. But this is, you know what I mean? You were raised in this environment. Yeah. So what you think is weird is what most people are like, what the fuck? What your sort of daily experience to most of us is so weird, Ryan. And I mean that is in the best way possible, in the cool weird, but I get it. You're making a distinction here between the
light and the dark.
The light and the dark. Thank you.
Yeah, and if you want to have like a theological question about the goddess, we can go all into that.
We'll get into Hathor, but that's Hathor, right?
Yeah, well, that's one name she gave you.
But so intelligence people visiting your family.
Yep. So that's.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll pick up from there. So all that stuff had started in the beginning, and it was like, what's happening? We continued to see thousands and thousands of beings, but it took my father 10 months to report what had happened in any official capacity because my brother was so traumatized. He didn't want to talk about it. He didn't want to deal with it. He didn't like when it came up. My mother didn't like it. She was, and still is, Pentecostal Christian. And that's very like literalist interpretation of the Bible. Nothing outside of this 66 book collection exists or is real in any capacity. It's demonic. So she had a very hard pushback. People were calling social services on us. There was talks of us getting taken away, their marriage falling apart. My dad just didn't want to talk about it to a point. And then finally, after 10 months, after locking himself in his room, being a recluse, he's like, I can't take this anymore. I have to get this off my chest to somebody. So we were watching TV one night, and it was one of those cheesy, like mid-2000s UFO or ghost hunter shows. I think it was called UFO Files. And there was like a line across the bottom of the screen, like a blurb, and it said, if you've had a sighting, report it at MUFON.com. So he reported it there, and it turned out to be a front for the CIA, and they're doing mass surveillance on the world, collecting reports of paranormal phenomenon so they can get in and investigate and then shut it down. So very quickly we
and
were
shut
swarmed.
it down.
Yeah, yeah. Duncan, think about this. Don't you think it's a little funny that all of these military intelligence, documentary filmmaker, all these people, the only people they put out in front of the world are military and government employees?
Yeah, what the fuck is that?
Because they're owned. They're not going to take us, the people with the most evidence of this thing in the fucking world, and say, hey, you guys want to hear a cool story about UFOs? Look into this. No, because ours isn't scary. It has to be scary. It has to subconsciously make you think you're going to be harmed or you're going to be afraid if you connect with this thing. Their whole narrative is fear.
And also, for whatever reason, I did it to you just now. Somehow, if the feds are paying attention to you, your experience is more valid than if not. So in that way, they completely are in control of all the stories. Once you get that stamp that that you've had some contact by the feds or that they're interested in you, now it's real. If you're, minus that, well, okay, it's like you're calling into Coast to Coast or something like that. But you know what I mean? Like I love the Age of Disclosure documentary that came out, and primarily people like you and I, we're aware of this stuff. So it's not like you're watching it getting your wig blown back or anything like that. We know about it. But what I thought was really cool is that it did lean into, this is the federal government. These are elected officials. These are people who seemingly don't have much to gain from coming forward with whatever they could talk about within the bounds of the non-disclosure agreements they've signed and their legality and whatever, like losing their security clearance. I saw it at South by Southwest with Joe, and I kept looking back in the theater. Dude, I mean, these are just people who like are at South by Southwest to like, fucking be at a festival. These are tech people. Some of them are aware of this reality, but most of them, the look on everyone's face, man, was just, they were astonished and scared and like, what the fuck? Because what you're saying, regardless of the validity, it being validated by the government, we have, since we were little, been told this is bullshit, nonsense. And if not that, evil. But that is the overarching cultural narrative when it comes to everything you're talking about. When you hear this sort of thing, you've been trained to shut it off in your mind. Immediately, no, not real. Whoever this Bledsoe guy is, full of shit. Whoever his dad is, nervous breakdown. This did not happen. None of this is real. And it's a instantaneous response. Instantaneous response. You watch a NASA press conference, they could say whatever, like, this is real. This must be real. You watch a federal official come out and say it, okay, I guess it's real. But people, the common folk, all crazy. Lives ruined, by the way. Lives ruined by whatever this conditioning is. People who have had legitimate encounters have had their lives destroyed because they came out and started talking about it like you openly talk about it.
So, and you're absolutely right. And in 2008, so it started January 2007, took my dad 10 months. He reported in October of 2007. By October of 2008, there was a documentary about us on TV that we have been told point blank by multiple intelligence officers that it was an actual CIA hit job to make us look like we were liars and we were crazy. And at the time, the subject was so highly classified. Think about this. The government never, ever openly acknowledged any sort of UFO thing until like 2017.
That's right.
The Nimitz. Right?
That's right.
So they hard shut us down. They faked the lie detector test. My poor dad sat in a chair for 4 hours and they asked him 30 questions over and over and over and over. True, 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 true. Until they got a flutter in his heart and they said, he's fucking lying. And they went and they put that on TV. That's the reality of what happened. And standard protocols, you ask like 5 questions and it's just boom, 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 and it's done.
Yeah.
They asked him 30 questions over and over. So you understand like their tactics and what they do. And that didn't make it exactly easy either.
I think it is important to place this in time, by the way, because we are now in a new age when it comes to how we take in this information. People, like, it is now completely jumped out of fringe culture. In fact, you would almost be more fringe at this point to deny all of the experiences people have been having. All of the experiences now outweigh that. You have to, like, listen, I don't blame anybody for wanting to keep your little head in the fucking dummy sand and, you know, whatever, like fucking give gift cards for Christmas, you motherfuckers, eat your turkey or whatever, shitty fucking food. I don't blame people for wanting to do that because it's like there's something comforting in the dummy sand, right? But when you've got so many different people across the board saying, I saw this happened, look at the footage, the fucking thing suddenly is going 400,000 miles per hour. Why would I even want to talk about this shit? Now you have to deal with it. This is happening. It's no longer fringe, but when it happened to you, dude, you are seeing little green men. And they seriously would have taken someone's kids away from them for having these experiences.
They try.
I know. That's what you said. It's just like, dude, I
had a caseworker in the 8th grade, social services, come home and, you know, monitor me days and days and days after school. Like somebody called social services.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you have to understand, of course, like, you know, you hear that your neighbors, the dad is claiming to have been abducted, talking about little dudes in the woods, you know, going out into the woods to shoot one of them. I mean, all of these things based on how people perceive reality would set off some alarms, right? You'd be worried about the kid.
And that's why I don't blame my mother.
Exactly. And of course, and you add to it Pentecostal Christianity, you know what I mean? Now there's demons in the house. Your father's got demons attached to him. You know, there's so many reasons people would be concerned, but times are changing. The times are changing.
Yeah.
And why do you think that is? Why suddenly is the tactic no longer to wrecking ball a person's life, discredit them, ruin them? Why is it shifting more towards, okay.
They still do.
But it's not the same. I mean, you got Marco Rubio on Age of Disclosure. You've got, you've got who's the senator talking about underground bases and shit. You've got, or congressman. You've got. They're still doing it, but it's just not. It's like it feels like the dam is breaking.
It definitely is. Like they can't control as much as they used to be able to control. And, you know, I'm happy to talk in private. There's just some things I don't want to put out there. But there's definitely some still people that mess with us in a certain way. I don't know if you saw, but I actually sent you a couple screenshots yesterday in that group chat with some emails that you might want to read when you get the chance. And just one example of people from the government trying to mess with us and change your story. Hey, we'll make you a movie. We'll pay you a lot of money, but you got to make it about reptilians. You got to make it, you know, we're not, you know, that kind of thing. And to an extent that does happen, but
because the reptilians are, when you talk about the fear version of this, the reptilians are sort of like the evil version of aliens, the lizard people. And so I did see that, by the way. So basically what you're saying is don't buy into the fear. They want, because if you're afraid, you're definitely not going to try to look up at the sky and make contact with these things.
Correct. That's their biggest fear, as told to us by many, many Pentagon, colonels, CIA program directors, XYZ. That you name an agency, we've been there. We've not to their facility, but like they've been to us. We've talked to them. Their biggest fear, the feds, the government, the military, the powers that be, their biggest fear, Duncan, as directly told to my father this year by a Pentagon colonel, is what they call catastrophic disclosure.
Right. Yes. I've heard about this.
Yes.
Talk about it. Sorry. Wow.
So who is this catastrophic to? Them. Because in this scenario that is literally their like nuclear option, worst case, stage 5, whatever, DEFCON scenario, is that the beings come into our world and they can't contain the narrative or the messaging anymore. And they completely lose control. And people interact with the phenomenon, and those beings intervene and stop these government and military powers from continuing war. And whatever it is that they're doing. So it's called catastrophic disclosure.
Right.
But the catastrophe is that they don't do the disclosure, the government, but it's the beings themselves. Well, I've got news for you. That is happening, and that is inevitable. And all their little documentaries and silly little shit that they do, they're only just trying to stay ahead of omniscient interdimensional beings that will have the last laugh.
Do you
I can
buy
promise you that.
Do you buy into the idea that there's a treaty or that some kind of agreement was reached?
Absolutely not.
You don't buy into that?
No.
I ask because that would be an explanation. Like,
it's the opposite. The government and the military and the powers that be are like against the phenomenon, which is why they spin it in such a negative way. The ultimate psyop is to convince you to be afraid to go outside and look up.
that is so fucking hilarious.
It is, but it's unfortunate too.
No, but I mean, it's so absurd. When you think about it.
Yeah. I've thought about it for 19 years,
the
man.
one thing they can't redact is the sky. They
Yeah.
can't cover up the sky. They would if they could. They can't. And
Well, they spray it.
they spray it. But they essentially but it does answer a lot of questions. It's for me, which is like, this episode of the DTFH was brought to you by my celestial brothers and sisters at Amatara. Christmas is here. You're listening to this awesome episode with Ryan Bledsoe. You want to see the orbs. You want to communicate with the beings. Maybe you want to catch a glimpse of the real elf on the shelf. Believe it or not, there's a very real anthropological theory that Santa Claus was a mushroom shaman. The red robe, the white trim, the flying reindeer, the whole jolly omniscient winter wizard thing, it all lines up with one of the most iconic mushrooms on planet Earth, Amanita muscaria, the original Christmas mushroom. In Northern Europe and Siberia, shamans literally wore red and white, harvested these mushrooms, dried them in stockings by the fire, and then delivered them to people's homes in the dead of winter. When reindeers eat these mushrooms, they start prancing around. They're on a trampoline. Almost like they're flying reindeer. So whether Santa was actually riding a sleigh or just riding the waves of consciousness, we don't know. But the symbolism is everywhere, woven directly into Christmas itself. And here's the beautiful part. This ancient iconic mushroom, the one hidden in every children's book and Christmas postcard, is completely legal in almost every state. It's gentle, non-addictive, and people absolutely love it for relaxation, deep rest, vivid dreams, and this warm, glowing holiday bliss. And I'm one of those people. And I wouldn't be one of those people if not for Amanita. They sent me their incredible Amanita capsules. Oh my God. They're the largest Amanita muscaria supplier in the U.S. with over 45,000 happy customers. Tens of thousands of kilos processed and distributed. They're ethical, consistent, high-quality products. Amanita offers simple 500 milligram Amanita capsules, Most people start with 2 to 3 capsules. That's 1 to 1.5 grams. Effects kick in within an hour and last 6 to 8 hours. Definitely follow dosing guides and use responsibly, friends. These things, just because they're legal, does not mean they're not powerful. They're just amazing. I must say that. Like, I'd heard of it before, but before I connected with them, I'd never tried it. And wow, definitely better than eggnog. Visit amantara.com/go/Duncan. Use code Duncan22 for 22% off the first order. That's Amantara, AMENTARA.com/go/Duncan. Use code Duncan22 for 22% off the first order. And definitely, please look at the guides on the site so that you use these wonderful, 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 wonderful things safely. Thank you, Amantara. I don't know what the word for it is. We just live streamed the NASA press conference about Comet Atlas. And what I found fascinating about it was how absolutely mundane NASA manages to make everything in space. That in their articulation of it, it's so frustrating and dry, overly scientific, simultaneously condescending, that it becomes, you get the exact same feeling you get watching the UAP hearings. You get the exact same feeling you get when you watch a government official talking about these things, is that somehow you're being misled. Mm-hmm. Somehow they're kind of telling the truth, but not telling the truth. And it's it blows a fuse in your brain. You know what I mean? You're like, then I'm just not going to pay attention. Fuck this shit. You get so frustrated with it. And then I
can't stomach it.
It's a specific feeling. It's not disappointment. I don't need the feds to tell me there's beings that exist in all kinds of forms throughout the universe. Anybody who's done a moderate hit of acid knows that, or taken some mushrooms. But the feeling it gives is so specifically frustrating, so specifically annoying, that it almost feels like it must be intentional. And what you're saying, it sort of illuminates why that would be. Because the idea is like, just bore the shit out of them, say some stuff. That way there's plausible deniability. You could say, look, we kind of talked about it. Because it feels like that's the catastrophic part, is everyone's going to be like, you motherfuckers, this entire time, with all the horrors of the world, you chose to distract us from our birthright, from our connection to the entire universe. You covered that up. You intentionally cubbyholed reality into going to Target, doing your job, having some kids, getting pissed off about politics, having a stroke, and kicking the bucket. And the whole time, any one of us could have made contact with our higher selves, or this, whatever this is. That's catastrophic, truly. They're the reptilians!
Yes. Duncan, they're trying to convince you that the reptilians are out there, and you should be afraid of this boogeyman that flies around in fucking spaceships. It's not that. In reality, it's them. It's the people who rule here. And this is no different from Gnosticism or, there's so many different myths and parables about this control system that's been in place since the times of Babylon.
Powers and principalities. Powers and principalities is what Jesus called it. You know, some sort of like low-level fucking Babylonian fuck. Some low-level, hierarchical, power-hungry, boring-ass vampiric shitbags. boring as a quality of personality, by the way. That's one of the primary symptoms. They're dull and they're vicious, man. They fucking kill people. They'll kill your ass. Not you specifically.
Yeah, it's insane. There was somebody at our property one time. It's complicated. Let's just say representing the DIA, which is a sister agency of the CIA, which stands for the Defense Intelligence Agency. And this is what happened. He said, so Chris, if the New York Times was to come onto your doorstep tomorrow and ask for the scoop, would you tell them your story the way that you experienced it, or would you tell it the way that we're more comfortable with you telling it? And Dad was like, well, duh, I would just tell my story. He said, oh, well, then we could just, put a bullet in Chris Jr. and Yvonne's brain. Yvonne's my mom. And we could fly you up in a helicopter and drop you out in the ocean or run you off the road with a Mack truck. And nobody would even know that it was us. You would just disappear.
You were there when they said that to you?
No. I lived 2 hours from my dad, but my brother, my mom, my dad, they were all sitting right there. That's why he said my brother and my mom's name. They were right beside him. He said, I just put a bullet in their brains and then take you out and drop you in the ocean. He said, you see all these houses around you? We've moved into them. We're constantly watching you.
Jesus Christ.
Obviously not true. They're trying to, make us paranoid and scared and afraid to speak. Long story short, he was saying all these things, and an orb appeared ground level behind him, and he started freaking out. He could feel its energy, and my dad started laughing. He's like, "Turn around, you know it's there. Go look at it. And turn around. You should see this," something like that. And the guy turns around and he sees the orb. He left. He never came back. Never received another death threat. So this is the reality of what we're dealing with. And I have many experiences like that where, in private, these people have done such heinous and insidious things. And then I see the masses out there watching, the congressional hearings and all this mumbo jumbo put out by the government and the military. It's no different than watching the Oscars.
Right.
And it's just a big show. It's a big theater to convince people of a certain thing, which is fear. So do we have a little bit of time?
Yeah, we do.
We good? We're good? You're not
No,
hard cutting?
great.
Good. I'm going to move into something. So to remind the listener, we had those experiences in the beginning. Then we, very quickly, there was a documentary out about us that made us look terrible. People in the community laughed at us, mocked us, hated us. We were just the pariahs of our town. So my family calls this the 5 years of darkness, because for 5 years, we were just like shut-ins, like the total abuse from the community and everyone around us. So in 2012, which at this point, I am 18 years old. Okay, 2012. I'm a freshman in college. It was Easter weekend, and my sister, still in high school at the time, comes home from school crying. Someone had been bullying her. I saw your crazy alien dad on TV, stuff like that. And she comes home, she's crying. My dad's just sick of this. He goes outside that night, and he shouts to the sky, thank you for healing me, but I don't ever want to see you again. I'm done with this. Don't ever come around me or my family. I'm never going to talk about this. Go away from me. And the morning of Easter at 3 a.m. So that was Good Friday. My sister came home and my dad was mad and he went out and did that. And then it was 2 nights later, 3 a.m. a voice says, arise. And he sits up. He wakes up out of bed. It's this big booming masculine voice. I don't know if he heard it in his head or if it was audible, but it doesn't matter. And he wakes up, clock says 3, and it instructs him to get dressed and go outside. So he goes outside, and there's these 3 8-foot tall, shiny, glowing beings in the backyard. And they're like, come with us. They walk him through the property, and he goes through the forest in our property, and he gets to a point, and I'm paraphrasing. There's more detail, but I'm just getting to the good stuff. And this massive gust of wind blows him down. And as he's falling, it's this bull. It's this ghost bull. It's ethereal. It charges him, and this force of wind blows him on his back. He literally falls horizontal. And the bull goes over him, and through it, he can see the stars. And then it disappears, and he tries to crawl up, flip over, get on his hands and knees to stand up. And when he does, his face is at the feet of a floating glowing lady. That's this depiction behind me. She had a gown from her neck to her ankles, blonde hair, blue eyes, and she had a triangle on her chest, just like the other beings. And her gown twinkled like the stars. And she said, I'm here. This is your burden. You have to go tell your story to the world. And if you don't, you're going to be like Joel the Watchman. If you know that story, long story short, he was supposed to blow a trumpet to warn of enemy forces coming. He didn't. All his homies were slaughtered, so the blood's on his hands. So she's telling Dad, if you don't go speak, you're going to be guilty for a lot of suffering and death and disinformation. And she said that her name was Hathor, but that throughout time she has gone by many names, and that she was the divine feminine. And she impressed upon him the concept of the Mother Mary being a false copy of this concept, that the church, the powers that be, when it was forming, they took the goddess and they nerfed her into a pregnant Jewish teenager. As ridiculous as that sounds, they turned her into this 13-year-old virgin human that somehow they pray to. You understand what I'm saying? They removed the truth of the goddess and completely changed the story there. And they suppressed the woman. They made Mary Magdalene a whore, which is nowhere in the Bible. There's no evidence of this. And in fact, it was probably the opposite. She was Jesus's companion and priestess and equal, if you follow the Gnostic perspective. And she said that the age of Aquarius is coming, that the powers that be here are a small group who worship the dark force. That's what she said. They worship the dark force. And they are using the biblical book of Revelation it's like a playbook to them, that they're using it as a script to manifest a cataclysm. And she said, you have to tell your story to stop this, that the light will win. As it is written, so shall it be. It was written for thousands of years that the light would return to the world and it would win. And it is going to play out down to the letter. And that times will get tough. Batten down the hatches, go warn the people and wake them up. And she said, I'm going to help you. I'm going to bring people on your path. I'm going to allow you to film them now, because we couldn't film. Immediately he was getting footage. Now he has one hard drive with like 15,000 videos. That's just one of many.
Yeah.
And she said, basically, she said there's going to be a star alignment. And when this alignment occurs, that there would be a new knowledge. And that the mystery of God would be revealed, that it would return to the world, and that we would have a new way of living and thinking of being, and that it would be a shift into a new power, that balance would be restored and all that good stuff. So that's kind of, you could see why the powers that be don't like our story getting out, because it kind of makes you smile a little bit, like, damn, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, this is like the, well, on one level, your dad is going through like this archetype. I love it. This pattern that it definitely shows up in the Bible, because a lot of prophets or people who are being like given some kind of mission or another, they never want to do it. I really like that about the Bible, is because the reaction people have is like, fuck off. Jonah, Jonah was supposed to go to, I don't know, Nivea or something. He's supposed to go to some shithole. And he's like, I'm not doing that. And tries to get on a boat to go the other way. A storm kicks up. They throw him off the boat, gets swallowed by a whale, barfed up on the beach. The point being, you can't evade. When you are given the burden of this kind of message your dad has, your first response is exactly your dad's response, which is like, I'm not doing it. They're going to take my kids away. It's going to fuck up my life. No. And always it's like, no, you don't understand. You have to. Like, this is your mission. And so that's interesting that you're experiencing a modern version of a kind of old story. Many of us have had this in different ways, though. Like, so many times your heart tells you to do something and you're like, I'm not going to do that. And then you're fucked because you didn't listen to your heart. But the other thing that many of us, or I'm assuming many of us have experienced, people who love psychedelics or people who have had spiritual experiences, is that message. Different versions of that message, which is like, no matter how dark it might seem, no matter how insurmountable things might seem, if your goal is to shift your own consciousness or to live in a world where consciousness is shifted away from blowing up kids to a more harmonious planet, it's coming. And you don't have to do it alone. That's the other message, is like, we've done this a million times. This is part of this process that happens. That's the download that I always got, was like, this is just part of a thing that we do. I don't know who they are, but it's a thing, which is planets. Something can happen to a planet. It gets infested with darkness. And then they show up and they shift that. They always do it. They've done it forever. And now our planet's sort of been picked or something. And that and that, in fact, where talk about fringe, all of this came to me like, I had all these visions when I was doing ketamine, and this was one of the visions. It's like, you think you're a body, but you're not. You're part of this fleet that's surrounding this planet that's shifting the vibe or something. Not me, like all of us. Like, we're actually part of some kind of, we're all part of some kind of, I don't know, fleet. My brain always translates things to sci-fi bullshit, but you can put it in whatever.
And that's great that you recognize that. And I think it's important that people understand that it's not so much about the specific linguistic choice that your brain presents. It doesn't matter if it's fleet or flock or herd or whatever.
Right.
The spirit world speaks to you through telepathy and imagery and feelings and knowings, and it is going to translate through the prism of your understanding. So to you, it says a fleet. To me, it might say a crew. We're all part of the same crew on a big pirate ship. It says
crew too. You get pirate ship?
No. I'm just saying hypothetically. I get more like, we're all one.
Ship. That's way cooler.
Me too, man. I'm a big One Piece fan. But
pirate ship's so much cooler. We're here to eradicate the reptilian demons from your planet. We've done it for eons. But yeah, man, I think that using, I've always loved like chaos magic, in the sense that it's sort of is just saying, listen, it's language is a tool. What inspires you? What story inspires you? You can embody that story and manifest it in the world, whether it's real or not. It's not about that. It's a spirit that the words are pointing towards, and that spirit is very real. I
agree.
This, by the way, this is what I'm starting to have to talk to my kids who are figuring out Santa Claus is a fucking fraud. One of my kids is going full Alex Jones on Santa Claus right now, and it's like,
no!
I don't want to suppress him, but I got littles, man. He's like fully like in front of the kids, being like, "There's no Santa Claus. It doesn't exist. It's a lie. It's not true. It can't be true. It's just a man in a suit." When we went to Winter Lights, that was not Santa Claus. It's just somebody they pay. The two littles, their eyes are bugging out. I'm like, I don't know what to do here. But so I have to say, it's a spirit. I don't know if there's a fucking Santa Claus. I mean, don't get me started on the Hollow Earth and Agartha and all that, but could be. But this Hathor,
I keep seeing this Agartha thing lately. It's like popping up in so many memes. I just thought it was gibberish. Is that like a real thing?
Well, I mean, it's like, I don't know. That's the first answer to that. And that I have no idea. But I think that like it's sort of what you were saying earlier. Like, communication does happen, I think, from external sources. A lot of the ideas you think are just your ideas. Don't be so sure. A lot of times there seems to be a signal being sent out. Certain people pick up on that signal, and that signal gets translated in a lot of different ways, and it comes into popular culture. So all of a sudden, like you'll see different versions of the same signal, or you will have had an idea for a book or a movie or an idea. You're too lazy, you fucking stoner. You're playing video games. I'm not going to do that. And then all of a sudden, almost the identical movie you thought of, you see a preview for it. It's coming out because that signal is being put out and somebody grabbed it and brought it into default reality, which I think you could compare default reality to, or consensus reality or gen pop, to a garden. And these ideas are seeds that get planted into the garden, and they don't come from default reality. They're sent into minds to all of us. Anyone could tune into it. And then they grow. And these flowers, when they grow into the soil of default reality, they create changes. They suddenly make people start focusing or thinking about things. The classic example, The Matrix, right? The Matrix heralded the beginning of everything we're contending with right now with AI. What's real, what isn't real, what is consciousness, what are humans. But that Matrix idea, it's been floating around forever. It's Gnosticism.
It's Gnostic myth,
Yeah. So, what I'm saying is Hathor, pirates, spaceship crew, Agartha, these are ways that the brain translates a certain...
The mystical other,
The other. So Agartha...
Babylon.
There you go. Right? So, is it real? I think it absolutely is real in the sense that, Agartha and the North Pole, believe it or not, aren't very different from one another, right? Like, so in the North Pole, there's some kind of Santa's workshop where there's what? Elves. You got it. And what do the elves do? The elves make packages for all the children. And then what happens? Santa Claus flies on a sleigh all around the planet distributing these gifts to all the children of the world. Now, that is just the exact same version of the story you're telling. But you know what I mean? Yeah. It's Santa, not Hathor. And Hathor is giving out, the gift of freedom, liberation, renewal. You know
Awakening.
What I mean? Santa's giving out fucking, I don't know, Nerf guns or whatever. But you know what I mean? But it's still, the idea is the same, which is there's a realm inaccessible to most people, surrounded by terrain that most people can't get through. And in that place is a sort of fountainhead from which all these beautiful things emerge. And the difference being, I guess, is the CIA isn't like trying to suppress kids who claim they saw Santa Claus. So it's sort of the analogy gets tortured at one point or another. But you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true.
But
I do.
The Agartha thing's definitely floating out there. But what's really floating out there right now, which brings us to something that I just fucking missed, is Orbs. This is now really in the conversation, right? Like first it was UAPs, and then suddenly this conversation of orbs started happening. Why wouldn't it? People all over fucking New Jersey were seeing these fucking things. People have been seeing them all over Europe now. People have been seeing them, almost the identical New Jersey drones or whatever the fuck those things are. People have been seeing them everywhere now, and also people are having personal encounters with them. And the new conversation that's emerging is, it's probably, I've been offline for a bit, so this might be musty now, but is that, and I know you'll dismiss this because it is coming from the sort of federal government intelligence agencies' involvement with it, but I do like it, that somehow the feds are using people that they call psionics to summon orbs, that there's people who can put their mind in a trance state and these orbs show up. And this is one of the ways that I guess they're studying them, controlling them, is getting these like MK Ultra, Stranger Things people to sit in a lawn chair in the middle of the desert, go into a trance state and summon orbs. This is relatively like new in the sense that it wasn't in the conversation, it seems like a few years ago. But your dad appears to be one of these psionics. Your dad appears to
Well,
be.
he's the psionic. And
Cool.
just, you know what? Let's talk about telepathy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's a stupid cat. Yeah, telepathy. Let's talk about it.
I thought you were gonna
It just,
clip that.
I'm a dad now. I'm doing bad comedy. Let's talk about telepathy. Then you just don't talk. It's like it's a joke that my kids would be like, Dad, that's really not funny.
I thought you were gonna take a video of me and then put like a fart sound or something over my head or something in a clip.
Josh, put a fart sound over.
So we're telepathically sending them to each other.
No, let's talk about telepathy. That is something I've definitely experienced firsthand, and like there was a time when I hadn't. Now it's so real.
This is where human consciousness is headed, I believe. And it's been known for many thousands of years, many, probably since before recorded history, all the way back to the original mystery schools, right? That the human race, human consciousness is evolving. Darwinian evolution is not the full story. As a matter of fact, that is false. The full story is, yes, life evolves, but that includes, consciousness, our understanding, our knowledge, our abilities, psychic abilities, all that stuff. That is evolving as well. And our brains are evolving to reflect that.
Right.
So we know that there are a few things that happen in the brain when you regularly view dimensional phenomenon. Things like the pineal gland becoming strengthened, the caudate putamen becoming strengthened.
The what?
The caudate putamen, which, a funny little link, if you know about the caudate putamen, when it tends to be enlarged, there's a link between that and autism, right? Telepathy tapes.
Whoa.
Okay. We have nonverbal autistic children who are fully psychic. And a good friend of mine who is a brother in the Templar Knight,
Knights Templar.
he's a Knights Templar. Yeah, he's a Knights Templar. He likes to say, for every 10 of those nonverbal children, there's one of us, like really gifted, awake humans who are also experiencing those things. And I think that's kind of the rate that some of those kids, they pop out and they're all the way on that sliding scale of like ESP, psychic, telepathy, precognitive thought, constant communication with entities. There are people like us who can do that too, but it's like the dial's way down.
Yeah.
But anyway, so a few years ago, when my dad did the first History Channel bit, not the 2008 Discovery Channel thing from, almost 20 years ago that tried to ruin us, but a new one, Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. They put EEG caps on his brain. They had these computers that have these domes that measure the sky, connected to every flight database in the world through supercomputers and all this stuff. It's military tech. So we gave them hundreds of orbs over the course of 6 or 7 days of filming. Unknown. It's ruling out space junk, satellites, helicopters, everything. Unknown. Dad, this is where the telepathy comes in. Dad would tell them 24 hours in advance, even down to the minute when it was going to appear. He would say, they would be like, Chris, when do we need to start filming tomorrow? When are you feeling the vibe? 7 p.m. Boom. They would appear at 7 p.m. or 7:01 or something like that.
Well, how does your dad explain that? Like, how does he know? Like,
I'll tell you what they measured in his brain, and I'll tell you how he explains it to me, being his son, growing up with him.
This episode of the DTFH has been brought to you by my friends over at Blue Chew. Listen, sometimes these holiday parties get a little weird. Maybe, I don't know, you've indulged too much, too many Chardonnays, and you realize even though you met this like super hot Christmas girl, yeah, sure, she's your brother's fiance, but whatever. It's Christmas. Things are different on Christmas. But you feel weird about the fact that maybe you shouldn't hump your brother's fiance on Christmas Eve. Seems kind of wrong. Even though you know this is Christmas. You have read Polar Express. You still hear the bell. But the problem is your bell's not ringing anymore. And that, friends, is where Blue Chew comes in. Bottom line, I use these things. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Are you kidding me? I'm in my 50s now, guys. What am I going to do? Both my parents are dead. I still have unresolved grief issues. It's not like I could just instantly get super fucking hard like I used to in high school when I was less aware of death. Need help. I love them. Thank God they exist. Blue Chew's the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just one promo code, Duncan, at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head to BlueChew.com for details and safety info. And big thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast. We thank you. Don't hump your brother's fiance. I don't know why I use that as an example. No, ask him first. Thank you, Blue Chew.
So they're like, all right, Chris, call him in. They're filming for TV. He does his thing. He prays. Of course, that part gets cut out. It always gets cut out. Everyone cuts it out for some reason. What is the prayer? I mean, it's just pray. Hey, dear Holy Spirit, please let's show them so that their eyes can be opened and that they can see.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's genuine. There's no formula. It's not a ritual. It's just communication. From the heart. God, whatever. Connection. So they start appearing, and the neuroscientist that they flew out from New York, from this prestigious university, that they contracted to work the machine live while they're filming it, the data he got was that his brain is completely shutting down into a very deep theta alpha state that you would see typical in a master Zen Buddhist monk who's been training their entire lives to reach this state. My dad has none of that training. It's just natural for him. So his brain shuts down into like Zen transcendental, complete relaxation. And then the language center and the prefrontal cortex on his brain starts lighting up. When he's communicating with these orbs, the part of his brain that works when you are in conversation or reading, that is the only part of his whole fucking brain that's active.
Wow, that's
the communication.
Cool. That's so cool.
So he's actually in telepathic communication with these orbs.
But he's putting himself in a trance state first. Like he's putting himself in a state of like pure mindfulness, pure awareness or something.
Yeah, but he's not doing like, okay, now I'm going to go into a trance. Like it just happens. You know what I mean? He doesn't have classical training in how to reach these Zen states. It's just his brain is different. And this is possible in all of us, which is why I love the Monroe Institute so much. And I gave myself up to being committed to them and becoming a trainer with them, because this is like the best place in the world to learn the tools to reach these states. That's why I'm so passionate about their work.
Did I ever tell you what happened to me with the Robert Monroe tapes? What happened to me as a kid?
No.
My mom's was a psychologist. And, she had all these weird fucking tapes. And so she had Robert Monroe Hemisync tapes. It was Robert Monroe. It was some kind of out-of-body experience tapes. I had no idea what the Monroe Institute was. No, I don't think she did. I don't know where she got these tapes. But I snatched them from her room, started listening to them up in my bedroom on a Walkman at night, because of course I wanted to have an out-of-body experience. And nothing was happening. I would just fall asleep listening to them, but I still remember them. It was like, I still remember the instructions, how relaxed my body would get. Then I just fall asleep. Well,
Yeah.
one day I woke up, and I'm sorry everyone who's heard me tell this story before. I woke up.
I haven't.
I woke up and my my bedroom fan was in my face.
Yeah.
And like, dude, it was awful.
So you were out of body.
I thought I was having an acid flashback because I was doing so much acid back then in high school. And then I turn and look and see myself sleeping, just freak the fuck out, try to go back into my body, go through my body underneath the bed, and then woke up and like, holy shit, those tapes fucking work. And
Yeah, they do.
then I had, after that, a few more out-of-body experiences. I could never do the thing I've heard that people who go to the Monroe Institute, you can just do it. Like, you can come out of your...
Will.
I could never do that. It was always I would wake up and do it.
Duncan, you're right there, man. What you just described is like peak level out-of-body experience. You don't need to minimize it. As coming from someone who's at the Monroe Institute and is now a trainer with them, like that is like classic. You did it. Like, applause. You achieved it.
Thank you so much. I didn't like it. And and I would also get those vibrations. Like that was the like energy pulsing through my body.
Yep.
Like it's none of it pleasant, at least for me. Like, all of it's scary. A sense of an ominous presence around me. Always. In fact, like when they were happening, I would keep telling myself, next time, I'm not going to be afraid. Next time, I will not be afraid. And every time it was like, fuck this. And back in the old safe old meat sack. And, a consistent gravity with them, which was always interesting to me. Like, if there's gravity, but it's not as much. So the thing of like trying to go through a wall or something, and like the resistance, the way everything felt different, the way I could get myself to sort of fly, but only somehow by not thinking about flying could I fly. And the moment I started thinking about it, I would go down like an opposite navigation technique that made no sense. And then they just stopped because too much fluoride or whatever. I don't know. Calcified the old pineal gland. Now I can't do it anymore. But
yeah, there's very, very few people in the world, if any, who can just say, I want to go out of body right now, and poof. That's not how it's like what you described. You do the work, you do all this preparation, all of this meditation and all this training, and then you just kind of ease into it. You think of the levels of consciousness as a radio dial. It's a spectrum. And you can go all the way up and down the spectrum, as much as like seeing multiple, bilocation or trilocation. All of a sudden, boom, you're in France, or you pop out of your body and you hit the chandelier. There's no one thing. It is, you can see yourself from behind. I've seen that a few times. It's
how often do you come out of your body?
Honestly, I would say probably. So I went to the Monroe Institute for the first time last summer. Long story short, they invited me to come as a content creator, and I hit it off with them. And my family's already, been connected with them and filmed documentaries with them and stuff anyway. And then I just had a knack for a passion for it. And they're like, you want to be a trainer? It's a year of school, starts next month. I'm like, absolutely. And started that path. Since then, I mean, shit, at least a dozen.
Yeah. And do you like it when it happens, or?
It's scary at first, like you said. That's true for everybody. If it wasn't, you're a freak. If it's
right.
like not scary, and I'm kidding when I don't want to offend
anybody. No, but how would that
there.
not be scary? It should.
No, exactly.
So
how it's like skydiving. Like, oh, don't worry, it's gonna be fine. You're not gonna be scared. Just jump. Like, no, it's scary. But DMT, scary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Scary doesn't mean bad. Scary doesn't mean evil.
Right.
But yeah, it was terrifying. And I actually wrote in my journal, next time I will not be afraid. I will see without fear.
That's so cool. Yes, because that's what it's like. You're like, next time I'll like stay out a little bit longer. Next time I'll stay out. I could never really pull it. I could never a long time out of that thing, man. I always go, I regret, now I feel like I would be less afraid, but then, no.
You probably would, and it depends on the intention you set, the knowledge you have, which is that you are an immortal being of infinite energy, and no outside force can overcome you without your consent.
Say that again. Started immortal being.
You are an immortal being of infinite energy, and no outside force can overcome you without your consent.
Right.
That it's just like Jesus said, you have power and dominion over spirits. There's nothing out there. And when you do the Monroe Institute techniques, they teach you all kinds of energetic shield practices and stuff like that to prep you into going into these states. It's a really amazing system. I'm doing one with Christina. You are more than welcome to join. It's 2 days.
You're going to the Institute?
No, I'm coming to her house and I'm doing a program as the trainer for her and whoever of you want to join.
That date you gave me is right around when the baby comes. So if there's there's no fucking way I'm going to be able to tell my wife I'm going to go.
We'll do another one. We'll do a different one.
But if there's no baby, I all I could say is I'll try, man. I've got an orb. My wife has an orb right now in her belly.
Yeah. Oh, mine too.
So you're doing the training. What does that involve? Like, how does that work when you're training people?
I'm doing the program. I'm administering the tapes, educating on the techniques and the practices, and facilitating experiences.
That's so cool. Do you feel like the hemisync? Do you think that that's necessary every time, or is that just sort of
No. The magic is in your brain,
right? Yeah.
And you have to think about, like, do you remember that story that you always tell where Neem Karoli Baba, and he doesn't even need the acid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To have the crazy, he takes the acid and didn't affect him. It's kind of like that. The hemisync is just training wheels. It's just helping your brain shift into a brainwave pattern that is natural and is a part of your physiology and your amazing birthright to go into these states of consciousness. 1,000 years ago, they didn't have hemisync. They sat by waterfalls in Tibet or whatever.
Right.
And they would go, and they'd have drum circles and all this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
It's just entrainment. And the technicians at the Monroe Institute figured out the right combination of sound waves to tickle the brain into that perfect little spot.
Wow. It's sleep paralysis, isn't it? Aren't you basically just inducing sleep paralysis? That was the other thing I didn't like about it is I couldn't move. I would wake up, not be able to move, and then out. But it's the sleep paralysis part I didn't like.
It's not sleep paralysis. You're in complete control. And when you do it the way that it's one thing to just go listen to the tapes. When you do programs, you have like 8 hours a day of education and knowledge, and you're learning how to do techniques to ground yourself back in your body. It just requires the proper preparation. But it's not.
What's the vibration though? What's the explanation for why your body feels like it's like laying on top of a vibrator?
Well, I don't think that they have any sort of specific explanation for that. But my take on this is that it's symptomatic of Kundalini awakening type experiences that when you're moving consciousness and shifting into higher states, that there are symptoms that occur in the body, like ringing in the ears, vibration. I feel a lot of vibrations in my third eye a lot, like it's pulsing out of my head. I'm sure you probably get that a lot too. You feel anything in your third eye sometimes?
I told you, this shit is calcified. It is. You ever see if you ever been taking a shit in a public restroom, you look over some calloused foot in a Birkenstock shitting next to you, and you see that foot and it's just impossibly calloused, brittle, dry. This poor thing up there, it's done. It's done. So no, I don't get it anymore. Like I said, I'm very earth realm now these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I can't see the orbs. That in this I wanna.
Can't or won't.
Let's get to the thing I fucking missed, man. You went
Austin.
to Christina Pazitsky's house a few days ago.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Just tell the story, please.
I'll go ahead.
I want to hear this story, man.
We started the show, and I was going to tell the story, and then I got derailed for an hour and a half, and it's just been amazing.
No, you didn't get derailed. I derailed you. I'm sure. I'm sorry. I'm not exactly like I would never be able to be on 60 Minutes as an interviewer. But
me either.
But tell me. So I was supposed to go. I fucked up and forgot this was what we call a baby moon, which is basically when your wife's about to pop, you try to get her some sleep before the baby. It's a way for pregnants to relax before they have to like squeeze a baby out of their vagina and all the things that follow that. And so I couldn't come. And so you went to Christina's house and...
Yeah. This is a full circle moment because she first ever reached out to me 2 years ago when I was on your show the first time. And then some things went down in her life, and she just, for whatever reason, put all this weird stuff on the back burner, and I didn't hear from her for a while. I sent her a couple messages, and I understand how, people are busy, and, it's just, that people will come around if it's meant to be, and didn't hear from her for a long time. But long story short, a couple months ago, my dad was brought up on Rogan by the singer from the Red Clay Strays. And I had this feeling in my gut, like, I got to do something about this. There's like some momentum happening. I got to reach out to some people. So I had spoke to you on Twitter. I reached out to Tripoli. And then I thought about it. And I was like, wait a minute. Christina Pazitsky messaged me 2 years ago. What do I have to lose? So I messaged her on Instagram, and she was just like, holy shit, I'm in, blah, 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 blah. Here's my number. And we just became fast friends. And she's just been this amazing, lovely human being.
The best.
She is. She's an angel. And I was like, I don't care what it takes. Like, I just want to skywatch with you. And she was like, I'll come to you. And I was like, no, after thinking about it, I really have wanted to go to Austin. Duncan is there. And, I'd love to see the mothership. I was like, I'll fly to you. Whatever. We picked the date. Now back to what actually happened, right? I just wanted the context of how this came to be. So I get there, and it was really nice, really sweet. The first night we got together, and it was just like, just old friends who've never met in person, just boom, just connect. She's really sharp with this shit. I'm telling you right now, she is very sharp with this shit. She's brilliant. She got us tickets to the mothership. So the first night we didn't skywatch. We went there. We went and saw open mic night. And then we came back the second night. And she rented a bus. You should have seen it. It was like a big party bus with lights in the ceiling and everything. And obviously Tom came. Sarah Weinshank, very lovely human. Her friends, Philip and Margarita. Her hairdresser and very nice guy, Alan, and then their driver, Solomon. And I pray I didn't miss anybody. And then I had a couple people too. No, he couldn't make it.
Bummer.
He had to fly to Hawaii. But I did get to meet him at the mothership, and it was really cool. He's a very nice guy. He took care of us, and it was just very humbling, and I'm grateful for that. But anyway, and then my sister, her husband, my buddy Cameron Measel, who's a very good friend, and I need to talk to you about that because he does this virtual reality thing that I think you.
Cool.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. And then my wife, we came as well. So I had people, and then they had people. So it was, 10, 15 people.
Yeah.
And we saw like 20 orbs. It's not quite the experience that I'm used to, like a party bus situation. I'm usually on the beach with like 400 people. And
where did you guys go?
Just around Austin. A couple of, and that too. Like,
but
it's
you must
not
have gone
really
out
like,
in the country, right? Did you go?
No, we went to the top of this little peak away from, downtown Austin. And then we went to like a middle school.
Wow.
With a dark field. So it wasn't like the most amazing dark sky kind of conditions, but despite that, we still saw like 20 orbs. There were streaks, there were flashes. But the most mind-blowing thing, Duncan, and why I wanted to bring up telepathy was to segue into this, was because something that my dad did, which was fucking incredible, and I've seen this 1,000 times, which I was explaining. He can, sometimes predict it down to the minute. I've seen him do that in front of a crowd of 1,000 people with a microphone. Wow. At Contact in the Desert, we did a skywatch with 1,000 people. And he said, 9:35, there's going to be a triangle-shaped formation of orbs appear, and boom, 9:35 or whatever the time was, 3 orbs appear. I've seen it 1,000 times. So Dad said, when you get out there, call me, and I want to say something to the group. So I was like, okay. So we get out there and I call my dad and I put him on speaker and I'm like, Dad, what do you want to say to the group? And he said, off the top of my head, look to the west, northwest. And then he was just talking for a few minutes. For the next hour, I brought out my iPhone compass and found the west. Precisely on the tip of the needle that's pointing west, there was this orb that kept appearing to the west, and it would move in different directions. Wow. And then it would disappear, and then it would come back, and then it would disappear. I had my phone with a satellite tracking app. I tracked the very first one, and it wasn't a satellite. I was like, you guys see this? You got it? We're past that? Good. And then I didn't, do it anymore. And it was just boom. It kept appearing in the west, disappear, appearing in the west, disappear. So visually, what we saw was not so spectacular other than streaks and flashes. It was these white lights appear in the sky, disappear. But it was the concept that I called him. He has no clue where we're facing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm 1,000 miles away. And he says, look to the west.
Wow.
We were already facing west. He didn't know that. And boom, they're appearing perfectly to the west. So, and that's it in a nutshell. That's what happened.
That is so cool and so funny. A party bus. That is, look, man, next time I want to be there. And like, I believe these things. I know they're real. I have so many friends who have seen them. Some friends who are not as talented as your dad, but who I think there's more.
This is natural. Yeah. Anybody can do this.
And it doesn't matter where you are. That's the thing. Whenever I'm in my backyard, I'm like, okay, so if I call an orb, they're not going to show up anyway because it's like they don't want to alert the neighbors.
They don't want to scare anybody.
Right.
So consider this, right? Back to the psionic assets. The difference between what's happening with us and then the government story is ours. I told you the other day in the group chat, and I know there's a lot going on in there, but I was explaining to you guys that the CIA warned my father, don't encourage mass prayer. Don't encourage people to connect. So how did he finish his book? Just go outside, say God or the universe, whatever. I'm here. I'd love to see. We get thousands and thousands and thousands of messages of people saying, holy shit, it worked. Or they hear the podcast and I'll say out loud, something like that. And they hear it and they go try it. Oh my God, it worked. Everyone I've ever met that earnestly wants to see this, they see it. And then they go and they continue to see it. Wow. Right? It's for everybody. Our whole thing is to empower everybody to do this and to not be afraid of this and to understand what it is. They're not hurting us. They're not harming us. And in fact, many cancers have been healed and uncurable diseases and things like that. The government's message is you have to be this fucked up, traumatized asset and listen to these headphones and meditate to this sound. And you have to engage in psionic warfare with these things and make them have it's not for everybody. It's for the few fucked up assets that, pop up out of nowhere.
Right. Because by saying that it's complex, what does it do? It makes people think, okay, well, I'm not a psionic asset. I'm not going to sit and wire. I don't have a machine to wire up to. My nose isn't going to bleed. I wasn't dragged out of my house when I was a kid and tortured for years so that I have trauma and therefore can summon orbs. So
they're all theater kids with security clearances acting a script. They're acting a script.
That's the cruelest thing I ever heard.
I mean,
You're definitely going to have to go into hiding now. Yes. I promise you what you just said is going to piss them off way more than any security. Theater kids with security clearance. That is brutal.
it is what it is, man.
That is amazing. That is the best assessment I've ever heard. Oh my
It's a show,
God.
man. Shakespeare said it best. The world is a stage. It's a show.
The world is a better stage because the Bledsoes are on it. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Ryan. And man, I am so sorry I missed this event. I will be at anything that I can get to, man. I can't wait to meet you in person.
Duncan, just like I personally came for Christina, if we can set something up, I would personally come just to do this
I would
with
be
you.
so grateful. Once
Let's
we
do
get
it.
this baby out, and I can.
I have a baby in March. We're on the same baby time, so we'll figure that out.
That means we're on the same fucking time.
That's a possibility.
We were probably humping at the same time, right?
Yeah,
That's
within
amazing.
days of each other.
What a great way to wrap up the show. Hey man, thank you. And by the way, tell people where they can find you.
Bledsoe Said So is our show,
Incredible,
my podcast.
Incredible podcast.
Thank you very much. Duncan has blessed me and appeared on there before, and it was a huge highlight for us. I would love to do that
Anytime.
again whenever you have time.
I can make that work.
Okay, cool. So Bledsoe Said So, YouTube, Instagram. We have our website, bledsoesaidso.com. And then I am building, so it's not out yet, but I already have the domain name. In time, as people are hearing this, just check if it's out. If it's not, I'm sorry, it's the holidays, it's crazy. But I'm building a website, RyanBledsoeOfficial.com, which will be used to, book my Monroe programs in the future.
Cool, man. Okay, great. Awesome. Well, look, maybe I can make it out to the training you're going to do. I'd love to start coming out of my body again. This whole thing's getting old. It'd be nice to have a break from this old stinky thing.
Yeah, dust it off.
Thank you, Ryan. You're the best, man.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
That was Ryan Bledsoe, everybody. All the links you need to find Ryan are going to be down there. Thank you so much for listening. And if you use any of the techniques that we talked about and actually encounter orbs, hit me up on the socials. I want to hear your story. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you next week. Until then, bon voyage.